Okay, so Abdullah Ashraf, welcome to Ashraf Connections podcast.
Thanks for having me here.
What do you want to tell us about yourself to get started?
Well, I'm Abdullah, and it's nice to meet you guys. I'm from Manchester, UK, and I've been running online businesses for just a bit under 10 years now. So, little quick background I'll give you, not to go too deep. I dropped out of college at the age of 50, about 16, and then I went full time with this whole, building online businesses. And over the years, I've done everything, tried a whole lot of business models, from Shopify. Everyone goes through the journey. I've done drop shipping, built courses, and done a whole load of things over the years. But in recent times, I just in 2021, I launched a content writing agency providing blog content writing services to blog owners, website owners. And in 2022, 18 months later, I sold this agency, exited it. And yeah, that was like one of the major highlights of my journey over the last 10 years. And after that, I've just started publishing information products totally outside of this whole biz op realm and make money. And currently, I operate a religious education brand because I'm a Muslim. So we operate in the Islamic niche. And yeah, we create books, courses, and all kinds of materials to help people of the religion, better themselves, gain knowledge. And that's my main focus right now.
Okay, amazing. This is a really good start. I want to ask you about both those things in a minute. By the way, I take notes throughout because
Yep,
that's how I can listen properly and write down what my next question is, so I don't have to keep it in my head. Because I usually find if
fascinating.
I'm trying to remember my question, I can't actually listen to my
That makes
guest.
sense.
But I want to ask you at the beginning because when you say dropped out of college for our American viewers, that means high school, right?
High school, yes.
And so you were 16, and at that point, like, did your mum and dad give you a bit of like pushback at that point?
Yeah, I got a lot of pushback for it, and a lot of it actually, and especially because of our culture, where in the Asian, well, Pakistani culture, maybe Indians are a bit similar. Parents really push their children to go through university, get a degree, and go follow the traditional route. So it was actually very difficult, back then to get them to understand what I was doing. But the good thing, the plus side was at that point, because I had started in what we consider high school, which was year 11, that's when I get onto the internet. And by my first year of college, I've been working online. I've actually been getting results. And I had some major success. Actually, one of my biggest breakthroughs was in December 2015. And at that point, like, had major success and things really started to take shape. And so it was only a few months after that when the first year of college would come to an end. And so by then, at this point, it was like even my head of like my college tutor, he was saying to me, we were discussing. I was often late to college and many days I was missing because I was so busy working on my business. And he said to me, look, from the sounds of it, based on what you're doing, I don't think you need college. Like, I don't think you should stay here. So what we can do for you is leave college for the next year and we'll hold a place for you the following year. So if you want to return, you can, and you can carry on from your second year. Or, maybe you go out and you'll find that what you're doing is just fine and you don't need this. And that's what happened. So the option was there, but I ended up leaving and a lot of turmoil with my parents and stuff because, I'm living at home at this point. And yeah, but I got them to understand. And it took some years till they actually got a grasp of what is this guy actually doing? Because to them, it's like, oh, he's just clicking buttons all day. What is it? Is he scamming people? What is he actually doing? How's he
Are
getting
you
money?
selling dodgy Viagra online, son?
Yeah, all of this kind of stuff. So there was a bit, definitely a lot of trouble there. And actually, it was so on an emotional level, it was actually very difficult because when I came online, it was because, I wanted to find another way. Growing up, there was a lot of troubles at home financially. And, I always heard a lot of problems my parents talking about. And I always just think, man, I need to bring a change to this. I just don't want to hear this anymore. I don't want us to live like this. And so that's why I had to go find a better way, another way. And I just knew like them times when you're 16 and minimum wage in the UK, then it's not so great. I just thought if I go get a job, I can only help myself. I need to do something where I can help my whole family. And so when I'm actually rising, I'm doing really well. But then my family's giving me backlash for it. I was like, but this is like I'm doing it for you guys. And it's like, hey, you're not too happy about it. You're not proud and stuff. So when I'm younger, this kind of affected me, not kind of affected me a lot. But then as time went on, that's how my perspective changed a little. My whole idea, I had to switch it into doing it for myself. And then when I turned it into something I do for myself, and as a byproduct, the people around me will, their lives will improve. Then it was like, I became a much more happy and content with what I was doing. Initially, it's like I'm doing great, but I'm not happy because I'm like, well, the people I'm doing it for, they're not really appreciative of it. They're not proud. They're not happy. They don't believe in it. And so, that was a big shift for me when I took it upon myself and thought, hey, this is actually for me. This is my future now. And where it started is just find a way to make money, because at that point, you're just in school, you're not making any money and you're not tasted any income. And so when I create this initially, it's just about getting money. But then as time goes on, I realized, wait, this is something much more than that. This is actually potentially my future. And if I go deep into this and acquire some skill sets and like work on myself through this space, I can become a lot more than what I initially set out for. And yeah, that's how the journey then truly began.
I love it, man. That's beautiful. Um, do you remember a turning point when like people in your family started actually saying, "Oh, wow, this is actually legit. Like Abdullah's got a real business here."
I think the that came many years later, talking around 2019, I got married. I got married pretty young. So I was like 19 years old. And when I was getting married, they could tell, okay, like this guy's matured, he's become responsible. He's like, yeah, he's actually looking to get married. He's looking to take his life on. If his wife trusts him in what he's doing, then surely he's doing something right. And so the acceptance really then started to come in. And over those years, like my mum, let me tell you one thing, like my mum, she was still very supportive. She, of course, most parents, they want to see their children just do well. And it's not a flaw in them that they didn't believe in this. Of course, to them this whole world is they don't know about it. They don't know about the internet. They don't know this opportunity exists. They only know what they know and what they're used to and what they've been practicing for decades. And so in any case, my mum knew, she could see that this guy is happy, he's enjoying this, he wants to do it. So she used to take me to events. I'm going to events and around the country and to some different countries as well. And she's coming with me and she supported me, the whole time. And so as she saw over the years, like, oh, he's actually doing something, he's really involved and invested in this. And they started to come around and they started to believe in it. And yeah, like at the same time, through these years, they saw me go up and come right down. Like I had a lot of failures, right? A lot of people maybe not talk about these, and I had some drastic failures where I've been up and I come right down. But the thing maybe that they like to see was, hey, he keeps going back at it and he keeps rebuilding, and I rebuilt myself multiple times. And I think this gave them some hope and confidence in what I was doing, that hey, maybe he does have something legit there. Maybe it is a real business if he's able to, rebuild himself and do it so passionately. So like I said, that all came from me deciding that I'm just doing this for myself. And although there was so much turmoil, a lot of people just pack it up and say, what, screw it, like I'll just change my ways. But I was very adamant on, I'm gonna do this, and you guys will later, you'll understand. And if you don't, it's still fine. I get it if you don't. Well, this is what I've got to do. And yeah, eventually, I think it was like 2019 when we were getting married. And then at this point, from that point on, anyways, and even in our culture, it's like, hey, once you're married, it's like, now you're your own pact, like you're your own family and you're your own man, and you do what you think is best.
Yes, because you become the leader of your own family at that point, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. What about like friends, cousins, people you grew up around? Did they actually see what you were doing and like get involved and look for opportunities in online business, or did they kind of not understand it either?
You're right. So because I was very active on social media from the get-go, like when I started online, it was like all Facebook. This is how I really discovered the internet. I discovered Warrior Forum, bought a course on there. Boom, I end up in a Facebook group. And this is where this whole journey begins, because now I'm active on Facebook, I'm networking with people, and all my friends are still on my Facebook, right? This has been my social profile all this, for the last few years, and now I'm using it for business. And so everybody sees what I'm posting about and what I'm doing. And not necessarily did people want to get, it was always just like people could see at a young age, this guy's been making some money. And everyone like, oh man, how'd you do it? How can I do it? But it was nothing too serious, everyone was just curious. And at the same time, it's just the way I am. I think I get it from my mum. Both of my parents, they're very much giving, and they always they're very helpful to people, and they're always trying to, if they can help somebody with something, they never like to say no. So they never say no. And so I was of the same mentality when, people come to me for help. I did try to help many people and show them, hey, look, there's actually another path, there's actually a different way of making money. You don't have to go do this traditional route. And nobody really ever took me, on it. But yeah, there was one interesting thing that I had a friend in school, right? And they were running a very successful, his father was running a very successful fitness business, selling physical products on Amazon and eBay.
Can I pause you for
Yeah,
just one sec?
absolutely.
I've just somebody just rang the doorbell. I'm
No
going to just
problem.
check out who it is, and I'll be right back. One
100%.
moment. Thank you. That was unexpected. Sorry about that. The
No problem,
lawnmower
man.
man came to take my lawnmower for servicing.
Oh, okay, that's okay.
Where were we? We were at your friend's father
Yeah,
has a
the
fitness
whole
business.
friends. Yes, so his father had a fitness business, and so let's say so like I said, I started 2014. By 2016, I got a good hang of this business. I've done a bit of what I'd landed in was product launches, doing courses because it's a bit of a backstory where I started a business model and I was talking about with you earlier. It was called traffic arbitrage. And I had a lot of success with this. And I built this community on Facebook now, right? And people are following, I'm documenting everything I'm doing. And anyways, I had a lot of success with this model. And so these guys that launch products, product launches on like Warrior 4, Warrior Plus at the time and JV Zoo, they've contacted me and said, hey, it looks cool what you're doing. Are you interested in doing a product launch about it? Would you like to teach this to other people? I was like, hey, sounds great to me. People I used to look up to are now contacting me to do a product launch. And this time, the model's not new to me. It was inaccessible to me. Like I always wanted to launch a product. I was like, how do you do it? And so these guys actually now contacted me and said, hey, come and do a product launch together. Anyways, we did it. It was a massive success. And so my friend that I had, he was a very close friend of mine. I said to him, you guys got a really good business model right there. Why don't you create a course on it and teach it? And so he said, well, sounds great. How do I go about it? So I helped him. I asked him, certain questions and got him to come up with a course outline. And we developed the course, right? He recorded it, all PowerPoint presentation. Boom. Then I got in touch with the JVs I worked with to launch my own product and connected them together and got them to do a launch. And yeah, that was very successful. That was back in 2016. And so he did actually get a taste, just fast track into the industry. They did a product launch 7 days. They done like 100K rev, and it was great. He just landed,
Amazing.
got like 2,000 customers now on your email list that you can start working with. But the problem is he kind of fell off. He didn't, when you don't understand how the business actually works, what you're supposed to do with your list, and how you can keep this up, kind of lost that momentum. And so that was the one friend of mine that I've actually ever really tried to just fast track and help them get into this business. And not only did I just coach them, I gave him the opportunity, and he did do something with it for a bit of time, but then soon after, he kind of, you could just say, he fell off, and yeah, he's nowhere to be seen on the internet anymore.
Why do people fall off? What happens to people after they fall off? Do you know? Do they just go
Yeah.
back to a regular job?
For in his case, they just back to, if I go deep in his case, because I know him well, I just know that for him, he would have faced a similar trouble with his parents, where his parents not really believing of this whole idea that there's actually opportunity online and that it's sustainable, etc. And so for the same reason, he wasn't then able to keep it up because his father's told him, hey, stick to the business, stick to what we're doing. And yeah, so even till now, he works full time with his dad, running that business. But they've kind of left this, there's this whole opportunity here. You could have created a whole other business, and by, being online as well, courses, coaching, whatever it is, consulting even, because what their brand is, it's actually very successful, quite a major brand like on Amazon, and initially on eBay, transitioned to Amazon. So it's really good. So they actually have something very valuable to share with the world, but maybe they don't see it. Maybe they don't have the time for it. I'm not too sure.
You talked about something called traffic arbitrage and about platforms like JVZoo and Warrior Phone. Could you explain that, like what that is and how that works in simple language for maybe somebody who's a beginner who doesn't understand this stuff at all?
Absolutely. So first, let's touch on traffic arbitrage. Traffic arbitrage is a very basic concept. Is that you are arbitraging traffic. So you are buying traffic, visitors from a paid platform like Facebook, Google,
Hmm.
YouTube, native advertising platforms, and you're selling this traffic onto platforms like Google AdSense, publisher networks, Taboola, Outbrain. And how it works, because obviously you can't just buy the traffic and say, hey, Google AdSense, I've got traffic for you. Do you want to buy it from me? No. So the medium is the blog. You have a blog, and what you do is you monetize your blog with Google AdSense. Google AdSense gives you ads to place on your website. And
Yes.
so you acquire traffic. In our case, we would acquire traffic from Facebook ads. We would run cost per click ads and run them to our blog articles. And people will come in random articles, by the way, we've done in health niche. Our most successful was like cancer awareness articles, right? And the traffic would come, and there would be, what was key about the model was that it was a what we call a listicle. A listicle, the content split into multiple pages. Why we do that is because you retain the user, they spend more time on site, and there's more likeliness that at each page, if they go across 8 pages, surely at one time they'll see an ad that they want to click on. Because every time they click next page, they get presented with a different set of ads. And so when they would click on this ad. That's all they have to do. Just click on the ad. Google AdSense would pay us. So essentially, advertisers are going to the Google platform, like Google AdWords, and they're listing their businesses. They want to advertise their business. And then Google AdSense goes and places those ads on people's websites. And so we get the traffic from Facebook. Let's say we pay $1 per click. Maybe at the time it was less, we pay 30 cents per click. And Google AdSense, when we get a click on an ad, they might pay us $1.80, $2 per click. And
Wow.
essentially the
Okay.
advertisers paid Google, and Google AdSense has given us a percentage of what the advertisers paid Google. And just like that, the difference is the profit because it's a very simple business in that there's no other elements, no product to be delivered, there's no other cost involved, there's no refunds, there's no what you get paid per click is just what you make. And so our only goal in that model was to spend less per click on Facebook ads and make more, from Google AdSense. And so that's the traffic arbitrage model. And till now it runs, but in my case, I had stopped doing it because we got to a point we had two Google AdSense accounts and 3 days before payout. So you spent a whole previous month. You run ads this month, you make money this month, and you get paid at the end of next month. And so we spent a whole month running ads and making money, and we've got a payout coming at the end of the following month for $26,000. And 3 days before payout, they closed our account. So the first major hit I took, where now we've lost all that, ad spend. That was the main cost, the ad spend. So we lost all that. And what we were going to get paid out, we don't get paid out any of it. And you can't appeal it. You lose your account, you lose your account. And then we had another account that was at about 18K. And a few days before payout, boom, they banned our account. I said, you know what? I need to pack this up. Like, although it's not that it doesn't work, and people, like I said, still do it till today. But in my case, that was where I thought, I need to find something a bit more reliable, more sustainable. And so that's traffic arbitrage. And then when we got on the JV Zoo
Before you
Warrior
move on,
Plus,
can I ask a
sure,
couple of clarifying questions on that?
absolutely, absolutely.
Because as good as an explanation that was, I think it could be even a little bit simpler. So I just want to make sure.
Sure.
When you see those blogs on the web where it tell you the first part of the story, and they say click here to get the next page, and you got to click 3, 4 pages to read the whole thing. Those are the type of blogs you're talking about, right? The
Exactly.
really annoying, frustrating ones that piss everybody
Yep.
off.
Very
Why
annoying.
won't you put the whole story on one page? We know, there's no limit on the page size.
100%.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So that's
And
what
if I
that's all
tell
about. I
you
never knew what those were about. Why did they put them
the
on different pages?
the dodgy part of it, the dark field side of it was that the next page button would be very close to the ad placement. So often people would accidentally click the ad because it's very close to the next page button. So of course, I think if you wonder, well, why did Google AdSense ban you? It's probably because of this. If one, they don't appreciate that you're running paid traffic and you're trying to sell it to them, you're taking another platform's traffic and you're selling it to Google. One, they don't appreciate that. Two, the way you're running this model in that maybe you are deceiving the visitors. And so for this reason, yes, it wasn't the most compliant model, but we're talking 2015 times things were a lot easier. And yeah, but it was a very interesting model. I ran it for about 2.5 years, and it was my first major financial breakthrough online. And then I developed courses about this, which will lead into the whole JV Zoo Warrior Plus thing. Because now I'm
Mhm.
doing this, I'm documenting this because people have been following me for a good few years at this. Well, maybe about 2.5 years. They've been following me on Facebook, and they've been seeing me. And I was this guy doing network marketing, MLMs, any opportunity, and every day I'm writing posts like documenting what I'm doing. Oh, this is making me money. I'm doing this project right now. I'm doing this, and then one day they see, whoa, he's come onto something. I'm showing my numbers. I'm like doing a K a day and we're doing 100% return on investment. And people are like, whoa, what is this guy doing? And so then I knew, I'm onto something. And people are like, please teach us. But I was like a bit hesitant on it. I was like, we're actually doing something. I finally landed something that works for me. I'm not sure if I want to teach it. And that's when some people that they launch products is a very common practice, just product launching. And these guys, they're serial product launchers. They might launch 1 2 products a month. And how the whole industry works is it all works on reciprocation. So I create a product and I hit my 10 friends up that are affiliates. They have major email lists, and I say I'm launching this product on this date, will you promote it for me? And they'll all share lists that are in the same market, they make money online, looking for business opportunity. And so as we launch the product, these guys will all send out mails for a week. They'll commit to it for 3 to 5 days. They're going to mail this offer. They're going to email it to their lists. And so just through affiliates, it was totally affiliate dependent. But the better JVs in the space, the guys that are successfully launching products regularly, they have a lot of friends, a lot of affiliate friends, and they also have big email lists themselves that they've built through launching products over the years. And so one of these, well, two of these guys have contacted me. I've known them for, a little while. I've connected them within the past. And they're saying, hey, I really like what you're doing. Would you be interested in turning this into a course and launching it? And I said, I knew roughly knew what product launching is, but I didn't know the full depths of it, right? I just knew that these guys have been having major success for the last few years. I always looked up to them. I thought, oh, it'd be really cool, to work with guys like these and launch a product. So they said, hey, why don't you just make a course? And the way they positioned it to me was that I was like, at that point, just before they contacted me, I've started doing webinars, right? And I did a webinar to my own audience and in somebody else's Facebook group. And I did a webinar and I charged $497 for this course. I decided to teach it in a different format, not the way they wanted me to. They wanted me to take a detailed step-by-step course. I was like, hey, just doing a 4-week workshop. And so when I did this webinar, I was having success and people were buying it at $500. So when the product launch guy came to me, he said, well, you can't charge $500 to this audience. You're going to have to make it low ticket because affiliates, they're only going to promote low ticket offers. And that's just what converts with these type of audiences,
Mm-hmm.
little spenders, right? And so I was like, man, I don't know about that. I don't think that's a great idea. I'm already making $500. So how he positioned it was like, end of the day, this audience, if you carry on doing your business, you're never going to attract this audience. Like this is a whole different set of customers, different audience that you don't have access to. And you know what you do, you carry on Facebook selling it, you don't have access to these guys. So just consider it like new business, new set of customers, new audience. These people don't know you, and it's just something entirely new. And I was like, well, that's cool. It's not really affecting what I'm doing. It's not like these people follow me on Facebook. And yeah, I agreed to it. And we went forward with it and we launched it. It was called MadSense Reborn. So you can still like Google this in because we launched this product multiple times over the years. And so what would happen is I create the course. It's a bit similar to the publishing model in a way. I'm the expert. I create the course. And once I create the course, that's it. My job is done. Now these guys, so they create the products. I mean, they do the launching. They'll create the landing page. They'll create the upsell flow. They will contact all the affiliates, gather them up. They'll create a JV kit so they can provide it to the affiliates and say, hey, use these swipes to promote the product. And they will organize everything. All my job was just to create the product and look after the customers. And they will then prepare everything else. And within about a month or 2 months max, everything will be ready to go. They'll set a date in advance from the day they've committed to the idea. They set a date and say they're going to launch it. And they put this up in the affiliate groups and say, hey, this product's launching on this date. This is the model that's being taught. Is very unique, is very different, etc. And one thing about it was with the JV launches, they always put prize money. They put prize money for affiliates. And it's like, hey, the top 3 or the top 5 affiliates, whoever drives the most sales, they'll get. So for example, with our launches, we'd give out $7,000 to $10,000 in prize money, and that would be distributed between the top like 3 or 5 affiliates. And like the first guy might get 2,000, the next guy gets 1,000, etc., etc. And we see in major launches when we look at like Russell Brunson's launches, these guys are like the first prize gets a car, and the second guy gets $100,000. So it's the same concept applied, and so it just incentivizes these people to push this offer. And as they start promoting it, conversion rates are good, they might promote it for longer and they'll push it hard. And so yeah, that's so then I've ended up in this in this space, and now I've launched product in 2016. We launched that MadSense Reborn one. Then I carry on doing what I'm doing, looking after the customers, building the business. By 2017, like near the end, I'm still doing this model, it's still working. So these guys hit me up again, say, hey, why don't we launch a version 2, and document all the new things you found over the year. I said, great, sounds great. So we launched it the second time, and I think it was in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, where I was still doing it. A lot of things have changed. Like I said, I've lost a few accounts, but we found some new ways that are working for a little while and using different platforms. Like I said, we were doing Facebook ads. We moved over to native ads like Taboola and Outbrain. And so we've cracked this. So they're saying, hey, why don't we teach that? We'll create another product. So once again, I just have to create the course, and they prepare everything. And at this point, we've built some reputation, right? And the affiliates that promoted it, they promoted it in the past, they made money. They can see, this product works well, low refund rates. It really looks after the customers. Is really something different. And so then we went the third time and launched it. And then all in all, this product line, it was done like 370K, but the interesting thing about it is very like from the outside it's very attractive, and I used to look at them and think, whoa, these guys are making 100,000+ in 7 days. But when you break down the numbers, it's not actually that fancy. Where the money's really made is in all the customers you will acquire during these launches, and you will then mail them. But the problem, so there's two problems. One is that let's say you generate 100K. Now, firstly, 50%. Yeah, you
Let
go.
me ask a clarifying question there.
Sure.
You've sold the product, so you've created the product, they're
Trade it.
promoting the product.
Yep.
But when the product is sold,
Mhm.
who gets to own the email address of the customer?
This is what I was gonna say then. The
Oh,
problem.
brilliant. Okay.
The problem is that we all share the email list. So whoever's partnered on this launch, and in my case, me and two of the guys, three partners, we all share the same email list, the customer base. And now these guys, they, like I said, serial product launches, and they have to reciprocate now for their affiliates. So what do you think is going to happen every week? New product comes, they have to promote that product, promote, and this list is going to get plastered with offers for years to come. And so this wasn't very much aligned with me, and I didn't do this. So like when I'm getting these lists over the years, like if we've done 3 launches, we've had over 8 to 10,000 customers over these
Mhm.
launches. But I wouldn't make that money after because I'm not mailing these guys. I was never aligned with this whole, just promote any product on the market for this. I didn't have to reciprocate. My partners had to reciprocate because they were the guys that are getting these people on board. It's their, affiliates, and it's their, partners, etc. in this game. And so, although no one expected me to reciprocate, but my partners, like, they expected to reciprocate and email their offers. Otherwise, when they launch the next product, no one's going to mail their offers. So it's really it's a bit rough. And so, yeah, like I said, so then we come to the numbers, right? And the numbers is like, hey, 50% will go straight to the affiliates. 50% of the whole launch goes to affiliates. Then you take out 10K, goes as prize money. And then you take out your, you got all the costs involved, right? The landing page, the copywriting, the graphic, the JV kits, the emails, all these costs, boom, they go out. And now whatever you're left with, you have to split it 3 ways between your three partners, and you still have to account of course, you're gonna have refunds along the, few months. So then by the end of it, from a 100K launch, I recall over a few launches, maybe I'd walk away with about 10,000, $11,000.
Even less than I thought that would have been actually more than that, but wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
so the money it disappears in 10 different directions.
100%. And so, then I'm left with thousands of customers I now have to look after. And I've done this all for what? 10, 12K. So is it really worth it? So from the outside when I was new, and I used to look at it and think, whoa, this looks crazy. And when we were getting the results and I see our first launch does about 100K in 7 days, I was like, whoa, this is insane. But then when, the numbers, we broke them down and it came around to getting paid, I was like, shit. And like I said, the money's in the emails, the money's in the list. So after you would carry on promoting people's products, like I said, I didn't do this. What I did do, the way I kind of made up for it is that within my program, I would just promote products that are relevant to what I'm teaching them. Hey, you're going to need a WordPress theme. Okay, I put my affiliate link in for the WordPress theme, and I made a good few K from that. And sometimes the deals that come around for WordPress theme or for content writing services, things like this is how I capitalize on it. So I just sold other solutions regarding what I'm teaching rather than pitch them a new business model or a new product, which is what, my partners would have been doing back then.
So, and what that means is, I'm guessing, is that the actual customer list you get off a promotion like that isn't all that valuable because it gets used up or worn out very quickly from all the different promotional emails that get sent. Is that correct?
100%. Absolutely. This list is not just shared by your three partners. If you think about it, the affiliates that have promoted it, well, they all share the same list and they've sent their leads over to us, but my partners may already hold these leads in their list. And it's just a big cycle. It's the same, like, maybe a good few 100,000 leads, and all these, the whole industry just kind of keep sharing them between each other because I promote your product, the next week you promote mine, I give you, my customer, then you give me your customers, and before you know it, we've all got the same customers, and now we're just all, plastering them, and yeah, it gets messy, and I always used to wonder, like, how is this even sustainable? I'm surprised like federal trade's not come down, crack down on this stuff because that's a bit, no, a bit, not a bit, but very spammy at some point.
Okay. I can see as well as that sounds like a business where there's a lot of like wild swings in income. Like you do 3 months of really hard work, have like a really big couple of weeks, and then you have this massive gap afterwards where you have to find something
Absolutely.
new to do. Is that right?
100%. And in my case, the only good thing was like What I'm teaching, I was actually doing, so that's how I was getting my income. But for example, the guys that are actually launching the products actively, they're not running any other business. This is their business. Launch products, do affiliate promotions, launch products, do affiliate promotions, right? And so for
Hmm.
them, there's been, there was very like over the last few years, if we look at the average numbers when you were launching products back in 2015, 16, it's very easy to get 100K weeks, like do 100K launches. And over the last few years, information died out. So when they were doing information launches, they were only doing 40 to 50K. Now, remember the numbers I discussed, like if we take the 50% for affiliates, the prize money, by the end, these guys doing 50K launches, walking home with very little money. So it wasn't
Okay.
sustainable. And so what a lot of people transitioned to was promoting software because at the end of the day, the audience they're advertising to is very much get rich quick, one-click solutions. And so software works really well. And then there come a downturn in that. And, that's like I said, it's a crazy cycle. But it's not to say there's not a right way of doing it. There is a right way. And I'm still connected with some guys that do it properly and, they push really good products and they do really well with it, and they've combined paid advertising into it and retargeting their audience and pushing more of their own products. The problem is with these guys that they don't have any expertise in what they're teaching, and they just keep creating similar products. Like one thing that was just trending, everyone was doing was like a free traffic solution, but the free traffic solution would just be a social media poster and scheduler, right? And it's just like, hey, feed it your content, and it'll post it to all the platforms. And every month, some guys would just keep renaming it, rebranding it, and launching the same thing. So of course, like it's not going to be sustainable if you keep pushing out crap. But there's guys that they do put out good products and they do well.
And this is why I think, like for people in any kind of information marketing or direct marketing, in the end, for longevity, people who do really, really well get their customer list. And for the most part, they don't share their customer list too often, or they share it with a very limited number of people and with
Yes,
stuff
sir.
that's congruent with what their own products are.
Absolutely.
So you moved on from that. What did you do next?
Right. So 2018-ish. So like I said, I'm doing a bit of this traffic arbitrage stuff still.
Hmm.
And at this point, I'm not doing as great as I was. Like for a few, like 2 years, we were doing really well with it. And then it just come down and here and there, we're losing accounts, nothing too sustainable. And then basically about 2018, I messed up my lower back. This was a big part of my life. Like my lower back was really messed up. So a lot of people, especially a lot of, online digital marketers suffer with it, like sciatica. And I'm a young guy, but I felt like an old man, so I wasn't like able
Yeah,
to bend down,
my
touch my
my
toe.
brother calls it nerd neck. He's a software developer. He calls
Uh
it nerd neck.
yeah, so this is this is a tough time for me, right? So maybe it took me about 18 months, 2 years or so, to actually recover from this. And yeah, actually, more or less, my business came to a halt. Like I was actually doing nothing. I was mostly just in bed, couldn't sit at the desk anymore. Could just about, yeah, couldn't really like. I just used to get walks in, that's about it. But even walking with a lot of pain, I just thought I need to stay moving, but there was not much I could do. And I felt it was like probably the darkest period of my life, when I was in that situation. I think it was about midway 2017 to late 2018 or something this goes on for. And it's like I'm just doing bits and bobs here and there, sell a bit of courses, do a bit of promotions for this guy, that guy, do a bit of traffic arbitrage where I could when it's working, when it's not, cool, you're not making any money. I had many months in that time where I just make no money, but at the same time, in that time of my life, like I wasn't even concerned about making money. I was just like, hey, if I could just get my health back, like, just be able to walk again properly, be able to just, be happy again because I was really down and out. And so this went on, like I said, for that long. And actually, when it came to an end, it's very surprising because it's a different topic. But hey, I was like going through NHS, we have the National Health Service in the UK, and so they provided me physiotherapists, different kind of specialists to, try help me out. And even when I would go to them, they would be like, hey, it's funny because I went to the first physio session and the lady, she looks at me and she asked me to do a few exercises. And she's saying, whoa, I've never seen anybody as tight as you. And I was like, how can you say that? Like, as a specialist, you've not seen anybody like, you surely you've had way worse cases come your way. And I was like, that didn't give me much hope. I was like, the physio saying to me, provided by the government, that, there's not much hope for me. Just time will tell. Maybe in time you'll get better. So that didn't work out for me. So I stopped going to my physio sessions. Then I explored something called, is it called osteopathy or something like that? Uh,
Osteopathy. I've done that
yeah,
before.
osteopathy. So I'm going to this guy, once a week for about 4 months, right?
Mhm.
And like I said, them times that my financial situation pretty down. So I'm spending £40 a week going to the session. That for me, that was like full after a few months, I started feeling the pain of it and no improvements in my life. Like you go in there and you know how they do it, boom, cracking your neck or crack your back or press you down. And I was always like shit scared, going into these sessions. But I think, something good will come out of it because every time you feel like you get that relief. But then as I go home, nothing would change. And 4 months later, nothing had changed. So I said, well, this isn't working either. Start going there. And just one day, just by chance, my mom, she's gone out and she bumps into someone, one of our family friends, and she tells her, oh, she might have asked, how's your son? How's your family? And she tells her, oh, my son's really been struggling with his, back and it's been a really long time. And, he's tried to get so much help and nothing's worked out for him. And so she said, hey, it's interesting you say that because my own husband, he's been suffering for a very long time. They've actually traveled to Pakistan, back to their home country, and looked for solutions there. And they've done all sorts. But she said, until we found this one man in just a few. So he's like, we live in Manchester, and there's a city not far from us called Oldham. It's only about 20 minutes drive.
Mhm.
And she said, hey, there's a guy there. And my husband went to him, and after 2, 3 sessions, he's fine. He's better now. And like she said, this went on for years, and he's better. She said, trust me, just go try him out. And you wouldn't believe. I always tell people, and they're like, man, whenever anybody tells me they got back problems and joint problems, I'm like, I've got the guy for you. But people don't believe it. They think I'm selling some woo-woo magical stuff. But honestly, like, I witnessed it happen. My whole life changed because I went to this guy and he's only charging £25 for a session. And his whole
What?
his whole thing was that I only want to charge you once. I never want to see you again because you're gonna leave here today and you're gonna be fine. So right, I go to him. He lays me down on the bed, and believe it or not, it sounds silly. He just gets his hands right, and firstly, what he does, where I thought this guy knows something, I had got an MRI done, the scan, and in
Yeah.
my MRI, I found out which disc had like slipped or out of place or whatever the word is for it. And he diagnosed me himself with his own fingers. And he told me, okay, this disc, they call it L5, L something, it's all beyond me. And he's saying, this is what's, out of place. And I was like, how have you done that with just your fingers? He said, all right, cool. And by the way, my right leg, when you got sciatica, you got the trapped nerve. And so, one of your legs, so often this happens, it kind of just become cold. It stops kind of working, so all the pain strikes through one side. And that's what I had. And so my right leg was the leg where, I've got the trouble. And it was always like cold and it was always in kind of pain because not enough blood was flowing through it. And so he goes and gets his fingers and he presses it somewhere like on my calves and then like on my thighs. And immediately I felt the blood rush through, like my leg just became warm instantly. I was like, whoa, what's happening? Then he said, oh, it might hurt a little bit. He goes on my lower back and literally just using his fingers, does some things. And he said, okay, stand up now. And he says, stand up and bend down and touch your toes. Because I couldn't write for 18 months or so. I've not been able to bend down. Like just from this is as much as I could go. And he said he wants me to go here. And I was like, man, I can't do it. Like I was already in my head about it because I know how much it hurts trying to do it. And so he said, just get out your head. I'm here. I can fix it. I was thinking, well, how can I trust you? Like the first time I met you, how do I know you're gonna be able to fix me? So then I was like, cool, like let's get out of my head. And the first time I tried, I can't do it. He said, trust me, just do it and he's shouting at me a little bit. Boom, I go down and I touch my toes. I was like, oh my God. Like, I'm like after 18 whole months of suffering with this, after going through so many specialists, I was actually able to bend down and touch my toes. And my back's in action, my legs working. I can lift my leg up. Before I couldn't lift my leg up like my knees to my chest. I couldn't do that. And I was able to do this right then and there in the first session. And at this point, I was like, ooh, life's about to be a whole lot different. And yeah, short and short maybe a year, like over a year, I had to go see him 2, 3 more times because he had advised me to do some things like go swimming and kick around, like kick some football and stuff, like move your legs. I didn't do these things. And so I ended up in a similar position, not as bad. And so I would go to see him. And after about 3 times of seeing him, I never had to go see him again. My back was back at that point. I'd go back in the gym, I'm deadlifting, and my whole life, I had regained control of it. And yeah, that was an amazing time in my life, man. Some maybe the happiest moment ever. And then yeah, crap back right to it. 2020, I'm good. Like I said, I have just got married in 2019, end of 2019. I go on a holiday with Mrs. the first time I started. I went traveling. I went Thailand, a highlight. And yeah, from there, things started to get back in flow, got back on my business and carried on with it.
With your man, the man who healed your back, like wonderful that he could be a great healer like that and not want to take much money for it. But
Absolutely.
like, did he have a queue of people like lining up down the street to see him, or
So he didn't necessarily have a queue. He's this guy that you can't always reach him. He's always like, oh, I've not got time or too busy. And eventually, as some years went on, because I recommended other people to him, he ended up teaching his daughter this thing over years. He was teaching her how to do it, and he's transitioned to her, like, doing the work. But, my brother's been to her and she can't do it the same way as him. And so he didn't have a queue. It's crazy, by the way. I pulled up to the building, right? And it was some, like, what's the word? Like, it was a very broken building. It was nothing that was in use. All these, I'm going through the hallway and there's all these broken rooms and stuff like not even construction going on. It looks like an abandoned building. And right at the end of this hallway is his room. And the day we put it, I felt this shit's really dodgy. Like,
am I going to get mugged in here?
yeah, God, this don't feel right. And very airy, silent. Like I said, it's in Oldham. Oldham, we don't consider it the best of cities. And yeah, but little did I know, the solution was waiting on the other side. But yeah, he's a great guy. Actually, his own personal story was that the doctors told him he'll never be able to walk again. And he went to like China. He said the thing that he does is passed down through families. And yeah, he went out there, spent a good few years there, and studied this stuff, learned it, and he actually cured himself. He did it on himself, and he got himself to be able to walk again. So, well, isn't that absurd? But yeah,
That's
whenever I
amazing.
tell people, they think, "Nah, this is some BS." Like, but I've got nothing to sell you. I'm like, hey, I've got a
It does. It
solution for you.
sounds like one of those stories from a kung fu movie, but
It's
like,
serious. And would
I
you
know you
believe
do
it?
occasionally meet these people who have just some special gift or understanding that goes
100%.
beyond what you can explain very easily.
The funny thing is about this guy, like he really fits the image because he actually teaches martial arts as well. I went to his house once and he treated me there. He's got big samurai swords, katanas and stuff on the wall. He's a character, he's a cool, cool guy, man.
Nowadays, you are in the information publishing business. You said you publish to a religious market, right?
That's right.
And so you sell, and we don't get we'll get to specific your products, but and for does that have any challenges for you selling into a religious market? Is there like mixing up a religion with business? Is that controversial?
Yes, it is. It is. It's a bit controversial where people say, hey, if you're teaching the religion, you shouldn't charge for it. But typically, most people acquire their Islamic knowledge through the Islamic institutes, what we call the mosques.
Mhm.
And they go there and they can find teachers there. But what they miss, what they miss is that mosques, a lot of online institutes, they all receive funding and they work on donations. And in our case, we provide the information, but nobody funds us, And for us to reach our market, we have to run ads ourselves. We can't just get the information out there. Of course, we could take a different approach and become a non-profit and start taking donations for it. It would take a lot longer to have the impact that we're having than if we just run our ads ourselves and create a decent, how do you say it? We just implement good economics and we can make it work ourselves and we can fund the whole thing ourselves. And so often over the year, like when we started, a lot of people would say this to us, and still here and there, the feedback comes in. We see it on our ads and we see it in our emails, and people are like, how come you're charging for this stuff? Well, we say, look, end of the day, this information, it is accessible to you. You can go to the mosque yourself, or you can go into YouTube and you can try and do it yourself. But end of the day, we've taken the time and effort. This is our main business, right? We also need to put food on our plates, and we got a family to feed, and we have to, spend money on ads and hosting all of this so we can deliver this information to you. And to be honest, there's a way bigger market that defends us, that would stand on our side and say, there's nothing wrong with it. And we look deep in our religion because when doing this, because I consider myself of good faith in my religion, so I consulted a lot of the scholars, the experts, right? And I asked him, this is what I intend to do. Is it is it okay? Is it compliant? And actually, when we look in the history of our religion, we find that it was actually recommended to us to make money. Like one of the best ways of earning money is by teaching our holy scripture, the Quran.
Mhm.
And so, if it comes from history, from the greatest person we believe to be have existed on earth, then whatever anyone else says, we don't let it get to us. Of course people are going to say this, of course people are going to make comments, but here it's meaningless.
No matter what you do, somebody's got something to say. And it's
Absolutely, man.
usually some idle bastard who's got nothing of his own going on, and that's why he's in your
100%.
business.
That's it, man. That's it.
Um,
100%. But yeah,
so
I don't mind, by the way, sharing the product because the whole product that I have is very interesting how we actually landed into this space.
if you want to talk about it, great. I wanted to ask you one question before you share that,
Sure.
and that was specifically about, oh, I'm sorry, I've just forgotten the question now. No, I can't remember. Go ahead, and if I remember, I'll write it down and ask you in a minute.
Got you. So basically, this product we created in March 2023, right? In August of 2022, I sold my agency. I go a few months, I go traveling and just enjoying. I thought, yeah, I need a break. The agency life, it gets hectic and it was very hectic for the, the 18 months running it. It's like, man, I need a break now. We deserve it. So I went traveling for a few months and having a good time. And I was just reflecting and thinking like, what do I do next? What do I do next? And I was on the holy pilgrimage in our religion in Saudi Arabia. And I was over there, I was out there, and I was reflecting on this, and the idea hit me, and it just came into my heart, and I was like, because I always had this thing. Why? Because I always had this idea to teach people how to memorize the Quran and memorize the Holy Scripture. This is a very big thing. And when I was younger, from the age
Mhm.
of 9 till the age of 14 or 15, I memorized the entire Quran. That's 7 days a week commitment, 4 day, like 4 hours, 5 hours a day. Like school was the least important thing to me. My day was like, hey, come back from school, 3:30, sit down, and I have to memorize a page of the Quran. And then at 6 p.m., 2.5 hours or so later, I need to go to my teacher. I need to recite. And I'm there till about 8 p.m., 9 p.m., and then come home. And, oh, what time do I have left? I'm doing this 7 days a week. I'm doing this through the summers. I'm doing this through every single holiday. So I went through a journey. It was very intense. And what it was missing this journey is the fulfillment, the connection with the religion. Actually, by the time I'm done with it, by the time I'm done for like about 5 years later, I'm actually drifting away from my faith. I thought, man, this has just been all trouble. It was a very stressful, experience. And I always thought, man, one day I need to bring a change about to this. I need to teaching it. I need to show people like, you can memorize the Quran, but you need to do it and to connect with your religion, to connect with your faith, not to drift away. It's not something you don't just memorize it for the sake of memorizing, just so you can say I memorized it. And in our culture, this is a big thing. Like they want their children to memorize it so they can say, hey, my son has memorized the Quran. And
Like a
not
badge of
for
honor.
badge of honor, exactly. But what did they know about the internal thoughts in where internally I was pretty broken. I was like, man, I just spent 5 years. I've not had much social life, not been able to do, anything. And in school, I had to fall short. I couldn't give much attention to in school. When I'm in school, all I'm thinking about, hey, I need to come home and I need to memorize the Quran and I need to go to class. And this is what my day looks like when people in school are saying, hey, I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna chill. I'm gonna go play some PlayStation. I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna go out with my friends. I'm going here with my family. I'm thinking, well, when I go home, I'm gonna sit straight down on the couch and get to memorizing. And so it doesn't have to be this way, right? And I knew that. I knew when I'm going through it. But once you're deep in, there's also, I guess there was stigma. Like once you've started this journey, they say, hey, it's not good to, back out of it or you can't quit. Once you're committed now, like you just gotta go the whole way. And so it's like many times in that journey over the years, I sort of say to my parents, man, I really could do just stopping this, is leaving this. But they believe that, and I've seen it with my own eyes. Like if you can do it, it's a gift. Like not everyone can do it. Not everyone's able to achieve this. Many people have tried and they spent a year and they've not even been able to memorize, a quarter of a chapter. There are 30 chapters, and some people have spent a year and they're not able to memorize a quarter. So, when we see some people, when you start it and you're actually able to do it, right? They think, he's the chosen one. So we can't let him leave. And,
This is like a big status thing, right? Like once you
the
do
big
it, you get a lot
once
of elevated status, right?
Absolutely. And it's a very blessed and honorable thing. And I couldn't take this in. I couldn't really be proud of myself. I couldn't really be happy after those years. I was only thinking about what I had missed out on. I could only think about all the stress I had been through. I could only think about the times that my parents didn't listen to me or that my teacher was harsh to me. These are the things that I'm thinking about as a young man. And so I just so for years, maybe for 2 years or so, I was a bit out of faith, like, and I had to find myself back, and I had to rediscover my faith, and kind of find it on my own, right? Because while you're in this program, when you're learning how to memorize, you're not being really taught anything about your religion. You're just and you're reading the Arabic scripture and you're memorizing it, but you're not understanding any of it. You don't actually know what any of it means. You just know how to read it and just
So
memorize.
it's actually just about making the right sounds, even if you don't
Yeah.
understand a single word.
Absolutely. You don't understand a
Okay.
single word. So you just there's logic to this process because they say when you're younger, we see this in our lives. When you're younger, your memory is a lot stronger. So and
Yes.
you're like a sponge and you have less distractions in the world. So your initial task is to memorize it, let it into your heart. And then as you would get older, because if we when we were young, if we tried to understand the Quran, understand the scripture, it wouldn't really make any sense to us. We wouldn't be able to connect with it. It's very deep, it's very, powerful. And for us to understand it in those years, it would be meaningless. And so that's why they say in your young years, you memorize it, and then in your later years, you will go on to gain the understanding of it. And
Wow,
that's a
that's
separate
deep.
course. Hmm.
That is very deep. Yeah.
And so for me, it's just because if my heart hadn't l- like left this, that's what I would have went on to do. I would have finished and I would have then began a next course and started to gain the understanding of the Quran, the Holy Scripture, and the religion. And I would have worked on the part that I really needed the most, connecting with my faith. And so for me, it was like, hey, 2 years, 3 years or so, I go on and I'm just a bit in and out, iffy. And then I found my own way, like when my back messed up, that was a big turning point for me. And that actually helped me. Well, I prayed to God every single night, like, please take me out of this, get me out of this. And, one day when the solution came and it came in such a miraculous way, in a way that I couldn't have ever thought about, I thought maybe I'll have to go physio for years. I might have to get operation done. I might have to get, and boom, one day I just walk into some dodgy, office inside Oldham and I walk out able to walk again properly.
Okay.
To me, I was like, hey, God definitely answered my prayers. And so that's what that was the turning point.
So, how did this like kind of somewhat traumatic experience of memorizing the Quran, and you go on your pilgrimage and you have an epiphany to create a new product? And what was it?
And that was to create a book on how to memorize the Quran, right? And this book's way more all-encompassing of the religion. I'm teaching people first, how to get in the right mindset, how to get your daily practice right, why you actually why are you becoming why are you trying to memorize the Quran and help them really dive deep and kind of deter them from memorizing it for any of the external purpose, like for your parents or for this person or for the title, and actually memorize it for yourself, right? And help them gain understanding of what they're memorizing. And we, attach all of this and give them different methods and ways of memorizing to make it easier for them and help them do it themselves. So you don't have to commit to, you know, a 5-year program going daily to a class. Like, how can you just do it passively, at home? Make it easy, make it fun, make it spiritually fulfilling. And that was my goal. And I was like, well, how am I going to do this? And the book, being online and, being into writing so much, I thought, well, that's the best way I can express my thoughts. And so we create a book about it. And yeah, just literally that was in December pilgrimage in March of 2023. I had created this and we launched the book. And it was funny because at the time it was the holy month of fasting where the Muslims fast
Yeah.
Ramadan. And yeah, we launched it at this time and it was just the perfect time because Muslims, their faith is at a very high level at this point and everyone's trying to become better and trying to do something. So from a business standpoint, it was exceptional. We launched it just at the right time. And yeah, it took off straight away from the day we launched the ads. We spent very little money on the ads. Like we're spending 10, 20 bucks and we're getting like 500 to 1,000% return. I was like, we're onto something. And so then we further developed this program. And now for the last 14 months, we've been running it. We've sold way over 10,000 copies. Our ads have reached over 10 million people. And that's why when we've done this and when people say to me, hey, like you shouldn't charge for it, well, I just think, well, look at the impact that we're actually having. We're helping so many people discover a better way, a new way, of memorizing the Quran and achieving something that every Muslim wants to achieve, but they don't know how to. They don't know how to go about it, and they don't know if it's actually for them. And they typically get maybe forced into it. And so we're just showing this all under a new light and making it fun and making it fulfilling. And that's where this whole branding stemmed from. Now, that's not our only product. We do many things. If you see in the back behind my chair, we've got the printables. And that's something we work on now as well. We do Islamic printables. So people can, not only for adults, for your children as well, and print these out and make it fun, the whole learning experience.
Awesome. What I want to say about this is a couple of things. One is that the simplicity of it is brilliant because it's classic direct marketing. It's one offer solves one problem for a very particular person, which is
Exactly.
awesome, which is something that everyone knows is the way to go, but very few people can ever do because we all get afraid that we have to do 10 things at once or we've got to
Absolutely.
have broad appeal. And it's like, hold on, no, you don't need to have broad appeal. Like if you had
Yeah.
tried to make this a book that appealed to Christians and Hindus and Buddhists too, it would have been a flop. But you
Giving
said,
a
no, I
thought.
know who my audience is and it's for them only. It's perfect.
100%. And the best part is like it comes, from my own experience, my own like I've got a whole journey leading up to this. And so, my passion shows in what we're doing. And so I'm very much aligned with what I'm doing. Often we, people start businesses and create products that they're not really aligned with. They're just doing it for the sake of, oh, there's market opportunity and it's not sustainable. But this way for me, it was like, in any case, I'm going to make this work. So when we've had down months, it doesn't mean anything to me because I have a purpose and at any cost, I'm going to, achieve it. So yeah, it's been great. But from there on, then we just carry on expanding. That wasn't the initial plan. I thought, hey, we're just creating another offer and we're just creating another product. But as it took off so great, I thought to myself, hey, we don't need to go into any other market right now. This is a huge market. There's over almost 3 billion, I think 2 or 3
Big
billion Muslims
market,
in the.
right?
Yeah, so I thought, man, let's focus on the Muslims.
This is the other thing I wanted to say, which is like how this is informed by personal experience and that there's love in the product, that you made it for a reason. Like you were scratching your own itch when you made this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was based on understanding a negative experience that you'd had in your own life and trying to make it better and understanding that other people would relate to that same experience and want that same better improved experience too.
Yep, 100%. And you put it in great words, actually. I often say to people, like, me, I just do so much and I don't even sometimes think of the deeper, the deeper concepts, like what's actually at play, why I'm doing it. I just do it. I'm always seeking alignment. When something aligns with me, I just go forward with it. I just get the thinking out of my head and just get to doing it and things just work out. But sometimes even I don't understand why something works as well as it does or why some things are working. So yeah, man, you put in good words. That's exactly what it is.
Because so many marketers, like you said, they just make a product for a pragmatic reason of like, this is a hot category right now. I can make a bit of money, but they don't maintain because of that, they soon get bored because there's no
Mm,
real love in it. But when you've got the love in it, you'll keep at it even when it's not working out to exactly the way you want it or when you face challenges because it
100%.
means something to you.
Absolutely. And yeah, it was like the same with my agency prior to this business. I learned a lot about, my practices today, how I run businesses, how I treat, hiring and managing teams, like everything. I gained this from my agency and now it reflects in the business we're running today. And with my agency, I had long-term plans and, as in we built everything for I had a 5-year plan. The only thing that changed, the reason I sold it so early was because AI came in and destroyed the content industry. And, so many people I was working alongside, they had to liquidate their companies, shut down their agencies, and start working for them, reduce their prices. And so I couldn't sustain it anymore. So I just exited at the right time. But anyways, I took all that experience and that passion and love I was giving my business and the team building, and I just took it to a different model to, information. And the same way we would look after our customers and go above and beyond back then, we do it now in information because often people think, hey, you're charging low ticket, and this is where most people suck in, information business because they think, oh, it's only a low price product, so they kind of just push their customers to the side and they don't give them the importance they deserve. Like we treat every customer as, like how do you say it? Like as important as one another. Whether you're paying us $1,000 or you're paying us $10, we give them the same importance, the same attention, and we go above and beyond for them. Like we give out calls. I've got a support agent that literally is there 24, not 24/7, but more or less 12 hours a day available to take calls with our customers. And it doesn't matter what level you're at, you can ring in and you can get on a call with us and get your questions answered. Any support you need. And so we just tried to, I just took that from my agency. I used to go above and beyond, and I was just reflecting on this with my missus yesterday, and I was saying to her that it's crazy how like good service it covers all shortages. If you're just good at communicating, you go above and beyond, and even if your service is not the best, if your product's not the best, the good service, that attention, that communication, it covers for these shortages. And I saw that true in my agency. Sometimes the work we would deliver wouldn't be the absolute best, but one thing we made sure was the work we delivered, we'd always get up to clients' requirements at the end of the day. You know, whatever feedback they have, boom, we're going to take it, we're going to implement it, and we're not going to start working until this customer is satisfied. And if they're not satisfied, boom, you take your money back. Like we'll happily put all the work in, and if they're still not happy, I don't want to keep your money. Like I don't want you to pay for something that you're not satisfied with. Give it them back. And so we take this whole concept, we apply it to our information business as well. If somebody wants a refund, they're not happy with the product, hey, keep the product, take your money back, and hit us up again in the future if there's anything we can help you with. And I think that's kind of the key, the core of our success in business.
People will absolutely forgive uh, if things don't work out once they feel like you made proper effort at it. Recently I was doing some lead generation ads for a solar power company, and we didn't get the results we wanted. But I gave them like more than, in fact, we were doing, I initially said, well, first off, I'll do a free trial for a week. And so all you have to pay for is some ads. They probably spend about $200-300. You don't have to pay me anything until we get results. In that week, we didn't get the results we wanted. But at the end, I thought they're going to be pissed off because they spent like whatever $300 and they haven't gotten any results from it. But they liked the ads I made and they saw the effort that had been put in. And they're like, it's okay. This is a tough market. We knew it was a gamble, and like you went above and beyond what you said you do. So thank you very much for your effort, even if it didn't work out. So
That's
people
it,
can be
man.
very appreciative, even if you don't get the result, once they see the right attitude.
The right attitude, you're right about that.
I want to just ask before we wrap, and thank you for like spending this time with me today. When you came around to the business of selling your agency, was that the only time you've ever sold a business to now, where someone actually said, I'm going to buy your business off you?
Actually, when I was running, my content, the traffic arbitrage model, that was
Yes.
the first time I actually listed my business. And what it was interesting what I did at that time, however, I didn't go on to sell the blog, but we had a blog that was doing pretty well, and we listed it, and we got a bid for $50,000 and on a platform called Flipper. And
Yes.
so we could have went forward and took the sale, but when I discussed with my partner at the time, he said, "Let's not sell it. Like it's bringing us good money. We don't want to sell it yet." So what I did instead was, because the model, it was very easy to replicate what we were doing. You didn't have to have an established blog or anything. You could literally just create something today, start running ads tomorrow, as soon as Google AdSense approves it, you can start making money. So what I said to that person that had bidded 50K for the business, I said, "How about, you know?" I charge you a lot less than this, and I build you your own website from scratch. Your website, your branding, your name, whatever you want, whichever niche you want to go in. Or we can build exactly the website that we're running. We're gonna build something just like this for you, entirely unique. And so that's what I did, and that was December 2015. So that's why I said in 2015 I had my biggest financial breakthrough, because my own website that month had done like 26K. I was up there, and then we were about to sell it. We didn't sell it, so I said to that lady, "Hey, how about we build it for you?" She said, "Yeah, that sounds great to me." I sold her for $10,000. That was my first ever $10,000 client I ever signed up, and sold it to her, some two other people that had shown interest in the business. I done something similar for them with a bit maybe less service offered, one for 5K, one for 3K. And this was a great month for me, right? That was like when I knew, Sherman, there's a lot of potential here. So yeah, that was like the first taste of almost selling the business. But then I actually sold my business with, and back then if I had sold it, it wouldn't have been anything as intense or as extensive as selling the agency. With the agency, there was a lot of reporting for the 18 months, document all of our numbers, our teams, and hey, even once someone bids to buy your business, then you have a whole month of a review process, and they have to make sure that in that month your numbers don't drop beyond a certain point, because they say at minimum you need to make 50% of your average month, like daily revenue, right? And so the numbers can't drop below this during this period. And yeah, you got to do a lot of breakdown, a lot of calls and back and forth,
So
making
you
sure
like have a
you.
transition period of a month between the day the deal is signed and the day where you say, here are the keys, I'm no longer the owner.
Yeah, so the first, like, he pays the money, it goes into escrow, and
Yes.
then boom, now this month begins, like you say, and for that whole month everything's being watched, and questions are being asked, and we're making sure the business is running fine. But at this point you have started to transition certain things over to the buyer, so we start giving him access over our things, so now he can monitor everything and see himself what's actually taking place in our business. And after 30 days, as long as the numbers don't fail, well, this buyer is now committed to essentially buying the business. Like if the numbers had fell short, then he can say, "Hey, I back out of this deal." He could still go forward with it, but he could also back out. But as long as the numbers then came correctly in that time and everything displays as it was presented, then boom, he has to commit to this deal. The money is released from escrow to you, and your job is done. You transition everything else that remains over, like the hosting, the payment processes, and from that day onwards, he cannot like contact you. I mean, of course, if you offer, some support, which I did, like I offered 60 days transition support. So after it's all cleared, I said I'll be around for the next 2 months to, assist you with anything if you need help with anything, setting anything, whatever it is, get in touch. And after that 60-day period, they can't reach you again or hold you accountable for anything, and boom, that chapter's closed.
Okay. And did you sell that through a platform like Flippa when you did sell your
Yeah,
business?
I sold it through Empire Flippers,
Oh,
and
I've heard of them too. Yes.
yeah, they take a whopping 15%
Wow,
commission.
that's a big chunk. That's a big
So
fee.
we paid out like 33K to those guys.
Um, Question I had was actually kind of about like the process afterwards. What did you do that made that business sellable? Was it processes? Was it team? Was it product? What was it that made that business where someone said, "Yeah, I would prefer to buy this and try to build it for myself."
100%. I think it must have been the team because when I got on the call with, the buyer at the time, the first call, and I showed him, how a team operates all, so it was processes, team and processes, because I document our processes. I show him like how this whole company runs without me actually having to do anything, and the team, like how great they are, because eventually what happens is after, once he's shown great interest, we let him into a Slack where all the team communications take place. And then one day we got on a call and he says to me, "Man, it's really amazing." Like he said to me, "It's really amazing the team you've built." And that's what he was really like sold by. He really liked how, we were running the team and the team's so energetic, and the tasks that, we had a big load of tasks and they're all getting done on time with a pretty tight team. But at the time of selling, we have about 25 people working. And yeah, like, we had a lot of clients and a lot of work, all getting done, communicated really well. Even client communication, I wasn't in charge of, my team was taken care of. And so we had a very smooth process and team. And I think that was extremely valuable to him because as a business, there were many things we didn't have, which heck, if I was a buyer, I wouldn't have bought the business because we only actually had 800 customers over the 18-month, and our email list, we only had the 800 customers. We didn't acquire any leads over this period. The only people you could sell to were the customers themselves. And that's considering they keep, buying, because eventually, like I said, the AI writing services are coming in. And so people know they can save money. And so your existing customers, they start buying or they start trying to cut deals. So we had a trouble there. But the good thing about the business, we had great lifetime value. When people buy with us the first time, they always came back. And so our service was great, the team was great, the processes were decent, but there were things we didn't have, like we didn't have much recurring revenue, right? People really appreciate recurring revenue when buying a business. We only had about $2,000 worth of that. And majority of our business, more than maybe 70% of the business was from repeat, customers. And so these things, the good thing is the repeat business was spread wide across a lot of customers. One of my friends, he was running a content writing agency and he had a lot of repeat business. He had a $50,000 a month agency, but one client contributed $30,000
Oh, it's a
per
horrible
month.
place to be, isn't it?
Empire Flippers didn't let him list his business, right? They
Yeah.
said we won't be able to sell this, or they said you can list it, but you have to exclude, that client. And funnily enough, well, bit more like sadly, a month or two later, from the time of trying to list, that client dropped anyways, and the client started working with him, so he was unable to sell his business. And so that was a good thing that a lot of our repeat business, yes, we had a lot of it, but it was spread wide across many customers.
And did your buyer have a plan to remonetize the customers that you already had to create new products for them or to sell them some of their own existing products?
Not necessarily. He was very new to this whole business. My buyer actually, he ran a very unique business, like a parking, like car parking business, where
Yeah.
it's like a website and you go whichever city in the world, you can just say, "Hey, I need parking," and it'll show you the different locations, right? Yeah, he was running a business like that, very traditional, like old school. He goes back 20, 30 years in business. And so he was very new to this, but he had a big plan and he was acquiring AI tools, software, content, schedulers and managers, and he was going to integrate all of this together and make this one big ecosystem of, content platforms, tools, and software. And his problem was when he bought the business, he took the core of the business away, which was a team, and he tried to replace the team with software, with AI. And so he basically changed everything this business was built on, why this business was successful in the first place. He killed that. And so by the time he was done with it a few months later, it was an entirely different business. It wasn't what I had built or passed over to him. And so, of course, I knew roughly how things were going in there because the staff was very loyal to me and they were great friends. There's some of my, even till now, they're great friends of mine, all the people that I worked with inside there. So they obviously told me a lot of people started to lose jobs. They were not happy and he was trying to cut the rates down. It got a bit messy, I was a bit sad to hear that actually, but it had to be anyways. In any case, I understand from his side as well, it was becoming very hard to sustain in that business
Hmm.
you know, trying to sell at the prices that we were selling at delivering the content we were delivering because very soon after you could more or less achieve that with a bit of human touch and AI and you should be able to achieve that what we were charging 45, $50 for you could do in $10, right? And so the customer base they were aware of this and so I still understand as to why he did what he did, but I think there were some better ways he could have went about it.
Yeah, I mean, as great as AI is as a tool, in the end, people still want to work with other people. They still want
Absolutely.
service from other people. They still want to
Yeah.
feel heard and understood. And I don't think they can really get that with
I can't
AI
get that.
yet.
Actually, I was blown away the other day. I saw, I think it was your partner's post maybe, where one of your customers or clients sold like a $3,000 blog, or $2,000 or $3,000 post, and I was like, that shit blew me away. I was like, till now, people are still charging the big bucks for blog content. And heck, myself, like I said last year, I was writing for Scott Oldford and Mike Bontempo, these guys, and they were paying the big dollars, for content writing. So it's not as though AI has come and took you out of business. Heck, my clients for writing still says it's fine, use AI. We just don't want to they're cool with that. It's just
Yeah, they
when
want it
people
as a tool, but they don't want to see it in the final
they
product.
don't want to see in the final product. That's all.
But it's like this. I just sort of see the whole industry as like a pyramid. And when it comes to AI, what it's done is AI has narrowed the base of the pyramid and it's made the top that much pointier. You know what I mean? It's the
Yeah,
pyramid hasn't gone away, it's just changed shape.
change shape. Absolutely, you're right.
One thing, last question I want to ask, if that's okay. Have you got time for
Yeah,
one more?
100%. Absolutely.
Okay. So, because this is interesting. You told me you left school at 16. Did you ever have a job in your life or you went straight into business? This is not the
Yeah,
question. This is a precursor to
no,
my next
100%.
question.
Yeah, because I've never had a job per se in my life. The when I was in college, my first year, I did have a freelancing job online on Upwork. I had a
That's
client,
not a
but
job. I mean,
I know I've
you didn't
never
get a
been to the
job,
work.
whatever, like in a restaurant or
Yeah,
like
no,
doing
no, I've
security or some other
never
kind of like teenager job,
never been in
mowing
a
lawns.
workplace, never created a CV, never applied for a job.
Okay, so you've left school, become an entrepreneur from 16, never had a job,
Mhm.
and yet told me when you sold a business that one of the biggest assets that business had was the team and processes. How did
Mm.
you learn to manage a team when you never had a job?
It's funny because my younger brother, he works for me now, and I always tell him this one thing that, whatever you do and whomever you work for, you have to be very observant. You need to really, you don't just pay attention to the work you're given, but pay attention to how you're being treated and how work's being delegated and how companies are run. And that was the key for me. Like I said, I had that freelancing job in my first year of college, that client, but it was like a major client. It was a very big company, and working inside there, they had me managing other team members. And through that, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about how they take calls, how they speak on team calls. I was very observant of all of this stuff. And, because it was fulfilling to me, I was very happy working for them. And so I knew, okay, if I'm happy working for them and I might be a tough guy to please, I thought, hey, these kind of things, if I take them in and over time, I'm taking them in like so much of the delegation, the team calls, the communication, assigning tasks, expectations, deadlines, these kind of things. I got it. I understood that communication is very important, and just good communications solves a whole lot of trouble in a company, right? As long as so it's fine if work's running late, just communicate it. Just let us know how come the work's running late. When will it be done by? And these kind of things. So for me, it was just being observant inside the companies I was working in, and I took on a good few freelance clients over time, where I was actually managing teams. I had a support role for a pretty very good guy, Nathan, and I was working for his in his company, and basically there were a whole bunch of support agents, and he wanted me to come in and manage these support agents, make sure they're working on time, the shifts are changing on time, or if they have questions about a customer they can't answer it, come to me. And so I got given a good few opportunities over time that taught me a lot about team building. And like I said, the key was just like I was being very observant of everything that's going on. I was very much aware what's taking place, and so it then showed later in my own businesses. And like I said to you right at the start of this call, you know, see, something I take from like my parents. They've just always been very friendly and very helpful, and they never like, talk down on people, and they've always, tried to honor people's requests if people need help with anything. And I'm the same, when I'm running companies and I'm managing teams, I try to be a friend of my staff. Like, I want to work alongside them. I don't let them think they work for me. I tell them, you work with me. We all work as one team, we're one unit. And I really try to embody that and reflect that, in our practices.
Abdullah, I think that is a perfect note to say goodnight on. It's been a really great interview. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll put all your details for contact down. Is there anything in particular you'd like people to see of yours that's out there?
No, nothing I say. If anybody wants to ask me anything, they can always just hit me up on Facebook. That's about it.
Okay, I'll stick that in the video description. Thank you once again, and I'm gonna stop the recording right now. Good night.
Brilliant.